Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I'll bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The Ticket.
Podcasts are brought to you in part by Lewis Jewelers, the official jeweler of The Ticket and proud partner of Michigan Athletics.
We are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider, Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side of the county. And you look up, and who would have thought? Who would have thought back in April that the Old English D, the Detroit Tigers, we sort of mentioned this as we headed into the holiday break last week, but who would have thought you could look up at the Tigers and see a team that is respectable, a team with some promise, a team that's performing, a team with back-to-back winning months? Is that possible for the Tigers? The young pitching prospects that had looked so suspect early in the season have been looking downright good. Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal, they've started the sort of tapering off, the dialing back a little bit with Casey Mize, and you see the forest for the trees, right? They think he went 3 innings Friday.
It's what the Nats did with Strasburg. The difference is when the Nats did it with Strasburg, they were in contention. It's a smart move. You want to preserve. It's a smart move. It's the right move to do with them. And anything the Tigers do with their pitching, I have complete and total faith that they know what they're doing. In Federer, we trust.
Yeah, well, you're looking at the Tigers now and, winning months, winning series. I mean, they won the series against the Indians, which is like, wow.
Sam, it shows you
right?
It shows you that hiring the right manager can be a big difference maker, doesn't it? There aren't a ton of different. I mean, you have a little bit more experience with some of the players, but it's not like it's some great roster. But Hinch is obviously pushing some pretty good buttons. He obviously had really good coaches on his staff. He's lost 2 of them to head coaching jobs at the NCAA level. Hinch seems to be doing some right things, and his staff has done a terrific job. In Federer, we trust.
Well, so you're coming up on a point in the Tiger schedule now. They have this series with the Rangers now. You're looking at maybe the next month or so where they got some pretty nice, pretty winnable series. And so the Tigers at this point, I mean, I don't think it's getting too far over your skis to say the Tigers could be 500 in a month. I don't think that is. I've heard, the Tigers could be 500. Who was thinking 500 was a possibility this season?
Yeah, but you know what 500 also does? 500 pulls you within about 5 games of the wild card. I'm not even saying to have that as your. The point is but that's what 500 means. And so the Tigers are 7 games below right now?
Right.
So it's a little bit of work to get to that 500 level, but you're showing, especially when Turnbull comes back from injury.
Right.
Because you're showing, right now it seems like they have 4 out of 5 pitchers are doing a pretty good job in the rotation. Arena's the guy holding them back, but I am assuming that Turnbull gets Arena's spot because Peralta pitched really well last night.
Yeah, and so you just mentioned a bunch of names that I want to bring up, right? So, Spencer Turnbull, right? Jonathan Scope, all right?
Robbed, by the way. Totally robbed out of an all-star appearance. Jonathan Scope should be an all-star.
And then Willie Peralta. So these are all guys, assuming Spencer Turnbull comes back healthy, right? I mean, he's fine. He's good to go. These are all guys, Ira, that you would assume are valuable trade chips. You would assume, right? We know that Willie Peralta, maybe that I wonder what his value is. No one saw him last year. The Tigers apparently I saw him in a foreign assignment. They saw him playing around with a changeup. Said, let's give him a shot. They signed him to this deal. Boom. He comes in and he's able to, he's able to get it done at a high level. So if you're Al Avila, who has been roundly criticized for some time, but if in fairness, Tarek Skubal looks like he's going to be a guy. Casey Mize looks like he's going to be a guy. You sign guys like Peralta and Scope, right? You put together, you sign AJ Hinch. You went out and got a great pitching coach, right? You made some moves to put the Tigers in position. Now, they aren't there yet.
But the conversations about Al Avila are a little different now than they were 6 months ago.
Exactly. The conversation is a bit different now. So if you're Al Avila, are you holding fast, holding steady, and holding tight to ride that wave? Because we say, the picture is different. People are talking about you a little different now. Do you risk that by worsening your team for the moment, trading away a Scope, trading away a Peralta, trading away a Spencer Turnbull? Do you have enough, latitude, enough capital with ownership, with the fans to be able to sacrifice the here and the now? Or do you need to ride this out?
Here's the question.
Develop the young guys you have and try to win some games right now.
It's a fair question, but the here and now was not a part of the plan, right? So being only, quote unquote, only 7 games below 500, that wasn't even part of the plan. Obviously, they wanted to be more competitive. They wanted to show signs of life, et cetera, but they weren't. This year was not the year for contention. This is the part of the rebuild. So the question that I would throw back to you is Willie Peralta here in a year or two? What's his role? Is Jonathan Scope, and Peralta's 32. Jonathan Scope, who's 29, is he here in a year or two, and what's his role? And Turnbull, who's 28, is he here in a year or two, and what's his role? And I ask those questions because if maybe they are, maybe they're not, well, what can you get for them? I'm definitely putting it out there that they're available. I'm not just trading in willy-nilly, right? I obviously want to get a nice little return, whatever that might, I don't know what the equation is, but whatever that return is. But I don't see Peralta being a part of this organization in 3 or 4 years when that's that window. You look at the three you guys are talking about, they're solid now. They're going to be better next year. And the year from that, they're going to be even better, right? So you're talking 2 and 3 years from now, 4 years from now, that core 3 of pitchers is going to be leading this team and should be really good based on their trajectory. If that's the case, at 35, is Peralta a part of it? And if the answer is, yeah, we love him, he's a veteran, he's really helping these guys in the locker room, then you find a way to keep him here. The same thing with Scope. He's been great on the, in the clubhouse, and he's been, I don't know these things, but if they are, then you want to keep him around. But if not, if he's just a guy that's had a solid bat because you found him in free agency, well, you can do that again. You've shown you can do that now because you've had a couple of pretty good hits on that in this offseason. If you can turn Peralta into another piece that is more valuable in 3 years from you, right? Is he more valuable as a piece in 3 years, as himself or somebody else? And I'm asking the question about all 3 of those guys, and the answer may be different for all 3, but Peralta at 32, well, what is he at 35? Scope is 29. What is he at 32? Turnbull's 28. What is he at 31 or 32, right? That's the question you have to ask. And the answer is he's probably better off being traded for a piece, and each of them traded for a piece that in 3 years is part of that that lineup.
Right. I agree with you. I think that there's no question that for the betterment of the Tigers,
they should still be sellers, is your point.
Absolutely,
yes.
You should be.
I agree.
Be a seller. But here's the key, though. Al Avila, back in April, the conversation about Al Avila was way different. It's time for Al Avila to go.
Mm-hmm.
Time for him to go. The moves he's making, they aren't working. Feeling a lot different about it now. They have some positive things are happening. Tigers are winning games and winning series. Things are looking up. Those young pitchers are showing well, but the team.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, here. So you want to know a team that did this, Sam? A team that had, some players that became veterans that were 28, 29, 32 years old, and they traded those guys away for a few younger parts. You know who did that a few years ago and people were watching and trying to figure out what they were doing? Take the trash cans out of it. It was the Houston Astros. And A.J. Hinch was there, so he saw this done, and he knows how to build that way. To me, that's how you – Turnbull and Scope and Peralta are not – they're not the difference makers of you being a winner in 3 years from now or not, right?
I don't disagree. I agree with your point.
And I don't think that and you're not winning right now. Even though you're better than you expected, you're still not winning right now. And I think your fans understand that. Your fans are coming out to the games. They're cheering you on. And I think the fans understand that you have a plan in place. And that plan could include trading away 3 players. But when you trade those players away, you're also getting more of the other young guys. And you're getting, you're adding new young guys, and you'll get to see some other young guys that get to come up.
Because a couple of things are at play here. Number one, you're right. People are coming back out to the games. I think people want to go out to see something. I think that's part of it. The other part is the Tigers are winning. Would as many people go if the Tigers stop winning? Now, I think the right move is exactly what you're laying out. You maximize the value of these players, and you maximize the value of these players, not by keeping them on your roster and winning with them now. You're absolutely right. What's the shelf life of these guys? How long will they be able to perform at the level they are performing in this very short sample space? Will they even be able to do that over the course of this entire season? Right? So you're trying to sell high. But if you're Al Avila, are you selling them for a future that you might not be a part of? And that would be my concern. Or that is my concern with looking at him in this current state. I think he should be trading those guys. I wonder if he will, if he thinks, man, we trade these guys away. These are core players. These are major contributors. Definitely going to affect our bottom line in this season. If we go down, will I go down with us? Will someone else realize the fruits of my labor? Will the scrutiny of these trades be like I remember? I mean, that JV trade?
Yeah, but I don't think that Al Avila is just going to make those trades in a vacuum, right? He's not going to make those trades without having conversations with people that he reports to as well. So to me, if he's making those trades, that's a conversation that he's had with other people and not just doing it on his own, right? In which case he will be here at least for another year or two to see this through, because that's a part of the process included hiring A.J. Hinch and his staff, right? And bringing in some of the players in the drafts that they've had. Well, if that part of that process is making, say, 3 trades, then I just don't see how ownership says, yes, that's a part of the process, but then you're gone. Like, I just don't see. And they have and this ownership, they're very loyal to Al Avila. So I just don't see that he's in any jeopardy, because he's shown this year he's done better this year than he did in the past, which means if his job was on the line, he has shown right now that he's preserved his job. Whether he deserves it for a long time or not is up to, obviously, some people down in Detroit. But he has shown this year, if he was on a hot seat, right? Coaches, GMs, whoever, they're on a hot seat, show me. Well, he has shown, and he has earned to not be gotten rid of right now. And if he makes these moves, it's because he's had those conversations with other people. He's not doing these on his own.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the case, even if he wasn't in I mean, I just think that this day and age, especially from a financial standpoint, I think he's running all these decisions by ownership before he makes them. I think they're in the loop. I think, though, in this particular instance, when you're talking about trades, and you look at the guys who are doing well now, I mean, you got a couple of draft picks that were, at least in Casey Mize' case, he was like a no-brainer pick. Tarek Skubal took some skill. But you aren't talking about guys that, prospects that he got back in return. And I think the scrutiny on that and the concern about the scrutiny on that, especially, and this is, what are we, a month removed from Franklin Perez being released? And that being the centerpiece in the Justin Verlander trade?
So, Sam, that's very fair. But based on... He has earned the right to finish the season out how they plan this season. So if the move is to make those trades, then you make the trades, and he's going to be judged over the next couple of years on it. He has the ability. He has shown. Well, the team has given him the ability to correct his wrongs, essentially. You made a bad move then? All right, let's make a better move now. It seems that's the case. And it seems like they're riding with him to go through with that. And so I assume that Al Avila in next April will still be here, regardless of what he does at the end of the season. But I also don't think that trading away Turnbull, Scope, and Peralta, if they traded 1, 2, or all 3 of them away, I don't think it impacts your bottom line for this season anyway. People are still going to the games, as you said, because people just want to get out. People are going to games because you're getting even closer to the 500 chase, right? So people are going to go to be there to see Miggy hit a career home run number 500. And then they're going to be there to see him tie and pass Eddie Murray at 504 for 27th on the list, et cetera. So you have milestone things that'll keep fans involved anyway. I don't think any fans, even at 7 games below 500, expect this team to be competing for a championship by the time, for anything by the time the season's over. So why not put yourself in a position where the next year and in 22, so next year in 22, and then the year after in 23, and in 2024, you are in what should be your wheelhouse now to be back in contention. That was the plan altogether. Don't divert from the plan just because you're winning a few extra games. That just shows you made some really good moves so far, but don't divert from your plan because your plan is working this season. So keep working it.
Yeah, Tyler Kipp on Twitter at Kipper Dive just tweeted in on this. He said, if you trade Turnbull, the Tigers better get like 3 or 4 prospects because whatever team that gets him has 3 or 4, 3 years of arbitration if you trade.
Absolutely. And that was part of right. And that was part of you let people kick the tires and you see what they're offering, and maybe you try to ask for a little bit more. I'm not giving these guys away for a random prospect. I obviously, in particular, he's right. Turnbull being the youngest of the 3 and being the pitcher, the younger of the 2 pitchers. Absolutely. If you're not getting value back, you're not making the trade.
Right.
You have to get the value back. You can't just settle because you want to trade the guy. You have to get a good value back.
He says, and if you trade Scope, you can always bring him back. I would say trade him and bring some of the young guns up. Yeah, I would say do that too. I wonder if Al Avila will. That's my question. Will Al Avila do that now that he has to be feeling a lot more comfortable than he was in April? When, the ownership can offer you assurances and promises up the wazoo. But when that blame game starts happening and it's a cacophony of criticism where everyone, all the media, all the fans are all over you, ownership has a way of trying to find a scapegoat. It's very easy for them to find another. Let's get another GM, right? We hear ownership say something and do another. That's not new to the sports game. So I hope he isn't deterred by a concern like that, because I think what's best for the Tigers long term is to sell high with these 3 veteran guys that are performing at very high levels right now. And you got them. Part of you wonders, we have to pinch ourselves. Is this going to wear off? I mean, are they going to fade as the season goes on? And then we look back and say, damn it, we should have traded them. Well,
that's the point. That's the other part. As you said, strike while the iron is hot if you get the right options for him, because at the end of the day, whatever happens in the season, it is what it is. You're not competing to go to play for the World Series. You're competing to be in the World Series in 23, 24, 25 window. Try to get there.
Yep. We got to get to a break. Be back on the other side here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTK.